Well, the last time you were having sex, do you remember what your partner was like? Was she moaning? Was he saying, call me daddy? Or how was the response? I think that is something that makes sex an experiential thing. And that's why we want to have it more and more because it involves two people and the chemistry between them. But there are times when the chemistry is absolutely something that the person having sex doesn't really give a fuck about. And that's when rapes happen. We do wonder what is it that tells a person to do something like that? Like, what part of the brain is acting that time to make somebody do such an act in the first place that they penetrate their penis into a vagina, or maybe the other way around? And yeah, I think it's an area where all of our understanding and all our books fail to give us any meaning whatsoever. Rape is a crime which has multiple facets, one of which will be a crime against the gender, basically depending upon the sexuality, the genitalia of the person, and that's what the intention might be. Might be, again, I don't know. And one will be against that. It's just a crime against bodily crime in a way. It's just bodily harm, which with a specific purpose, similar to murder or hitting someone or slapping someone. What do you think? I ask you, Deepal, that what do you think about the act of rape, whether the same being either a sexual crime or a bodily or a crime in the category of bodily harm?
See, rape it in itself is a very broad topic. You cannot classify simply the act of a person out of one particular motivation. Sometimes there are multiple motivations involved in that. Sometimes it's purely simply the feeling of empowerment over the other person. Sometimes it is simply out of sexual frustration. Sometimes it's a combination of both. Sometimes the person is some way or the other insulted by the other person and then it becomes a revenge rape. So there is no one particular way, but one thing is for sure, that the person who is doing knows that what he is doing is not right. He is not entitled to it. The other person is not enjoying it, but the thing is he wants it from it. So the
Wants exactly what? Like sexual pleasure out of it? Like if that's the intention, then there is absolutely no sexual pleasure out of it because
maybe for the women it is not maybe, definitely not for the women, but maybe
like
for the
not
guy.
for anybody who's being raped. I'm sure it's not a
Definitely not.
like
But maybe for the guy it is. A mind is a very, I am sure Nilanjana will agree with me, mind is a very complex thing. We still not have understood, even I would say it will be convenient to say half of it. So there is still a lot of mystery unsolved around the psychology of the rape. But the thing is, rape, not all rapes can be categorized in a one particular way, and not all victim or not all the accused can be treated the same way. One has to be sympathetic to the accused as well. If it is a mental disorder, it is arising out of mental disorder, because for other diseases, for example, assumingly AIDS, people have sympathy for the person. But when we are talking about rape, it is simply the act. It is not the intention behind it. The person, just like a mental stressed out person, a mentally disoriented person, is compelled by his disability. So you cannot treat all the accused with the same thing, but definitely it is a crime and it should not go unpunished. And for that very reason, coming back to the legal point, not all simply there is not one criteria to punish the person. There is a criteria to the minimum sentence, I believe, is 10 years for the rape and goes to death. So that
death will be only in the case of rarest of rare.
Rarest of it, fair enough. And again, this
I get it. Like I think there are multiple facets to it, and that's why we have a panel full of three people for the multiple views that are going to come across the spectrum. We have Deepal with us. Welcome to the show. Deepal is a practicing lawyer before the Delhi High Court, and Welcome to the show, Deepal.
Thank you. It is my
Uh,
honor to be here.
yeah, we have Nilanjana with us. Nilanjana from the psychology realm to tell us why is a rapist raping people and what is the victim doing about it. Is she or he getting better, or yeah, there is something that we should think that it's going to cause permanent damage later in the segments. And we have Yashwardhan Oza, a practicing lawyer based out of Delhi and Indore. Welcome to the show, Yashwardhan.
थैंक यू. जैसे मैं बीच में बोल रहा हूँ.
हाँ जी.
आपने पूछा कि क्या रेप एक सेक्सुअल क्राइम है या ह्यूमन बॉडी के. तो एज पर द एक्ट ह्यूमन बॉडी कहते हैं, मगर आपको सोचना पड़ेगा ये कहाँ से चालू हुआ है. एंटी रेप लॉज 1860 में आए हैं आईपीसी में. उससे पहले ऐसा नहीं था कि रेप नहीं थे, होते थे. मगर आप अगर पहले से सोचोगे तो पहले क्या होता था कि जागीर होती थी, ज़मींदार लोग होते थे, उनके अपने कानून होते थे, उनकी अपनी सजाएं होती थी. तब एक औरत को या एक लड़की को एक प्रॉपर्टी के जैसे देखा जाता था. तो मान लीजिए जागीरदार है, उसके नीचे आदमी काम कर रहा है, उसने कोई गलती की तो उसकी पनिशमेंट क्या थी कि उसकी वाइफ को पनिश किया जाए. तो एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम अगर आप देखोगे तो ना तो वो सेक्सुअल ऑफेंस था, ना क्राइम अगेंस्ट ह्यूमन बॉडी था. वो ये था कि किसी एक इंसान की प्रॉपर्टी, हाँ, के अगेंस्ट क्राइम था.
चोरी और रेप एक ही बराबर आता
हाँ,
था.
वो ये था कि आप किसी और की प्रॉपर्टी के ऊपर कोई क्राइम कर रहे हो, ऑफेंस कर रहे हो, जो ओवर द इयर्स अब चेंज होते गया.
The thing becoming that we are looking at all the multiple facets of things to surely better understand that it is a crime against property the way it has been culturally looked at. Then we look at it a crime against bodily harm because surely there is a harm that is coming to the person. She is or he is being sexually violated, जिसकी वजह से there is a minute physical harm, but the mental trauma that comes with it is obviously huge.
Definitely.
Then comes that the same being categorized as a sexual crime. Psychologically speaking, Nilanjana, what is it that a person has the tendency to act on something like that triggering in his brain, that he is absolutely becoming insensitive and ignorant, that the other person doesn't really matter in the first place?
I think there are various things to it. For example, the way that you've been raised will make a huge difference to the way that you understand boundaries and the way that you understand consent. Right? In a lot of families, consent is not explicit. It's not something that's asked or ever explained to a child. कि अच्छा हम तुम्हारी गाल खींचने वाले हैं, can we do that? Can I touch you? Is it okay to do
Good touch,
that?
bad touch. हाँ.
Right. So it's never introduced. Even when we're introducing good touch, bad touch, consent की बात कभी आती ही नहीं है टेबल पे, because हम बच्चे से पूछते नहीं. हम बस बोलते हैं ये अच्छा टच है और ये खराब है, ये लोग कर सकते हैं और ये लोग नहीं कर सकते हैं. So the first thing is just the way that you've been raised. That will play a huge role, right? So the cultural, societal way of looking at it is that. There are also research studies that suggest that it could be biological thing. You know, the entire Darwinian theory which suggests that men have, especially men, have uncontrollable sex desires which cannot be restrained or controlled, and well, it will very often come out in spaces where they know they have the power to exert control in this way. So, in fact, going back to the question that you were also asking, Deepal, was that when we look at rape, it's not just a sexual crime. It's also a bodily harm case. It's also a case of domination, because all of these things come together. For some cases, some of them will be just domination. Happens a lot in, for example, universities, in frat parties, where young men reach a certain social status only when they are sexually experienced, when they have been, sexually, having explicit flings with people. People know about it. So, us panic mein, in order to reach that alpha male status, you have to do things. In that panic, you do things. So, I feel like there are various things that come into the picture, sometimes together, sometimes separately, to bring an individual, man or woman or otherwise, to commit such a crime. But I do understand as a therapist that it's not a disorder. It's not a disorder that makes an individual. It could be. Like, for example, you could be, going through schizophrenia. A part of it could be